Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit now about the world that we're going to be entering in if we're making an independent film, especially in today's day and age, starting in 2021. And the first thing is this: it doesn't matter when you want to start a film. It is always a very, very, very difficult thing to do. I mean, David Fincher has a quote that says, anytime any film is made, it should be considered a minor miracle. And I think he's absolutely right about that, because it is very, very difficult to make a film of any sort. It could be a major feature, or it could be an independent thing like that. So before you get started off on this process, I think the thing you need to go into it is this. It's going to be difficult. It's trained in the background there, but it's going to be a difficult process, and you just kind of need to accept that as part of the variables. Now, there are components of shooting a film that we need to take into account, and the first one is this. COVID has changed the game in a lot of different ways. It's always been difficult before, but the one thing about COVID, it has introduced some variables that we as filmmakers have not had to deal with before in the past. And the first one really comes down to theaters. The whole idea of the theatrical experience has now undergone a transformation. And as it stands right now in the early summer of 2021, I'm not quite sure how theaters will bounce back. You have had some movies starting to come back. A Quiet Place 2 just made $100 million, the first one to do it since COVID. But we'll just have to see how the trend goes. And because of that, you have financiers that are a little more nervous about what it means for doing a film. So if you are trying to start a film right now, just realize that there's going to be uncertainty in the thing. Another uncertain area is that traditionally in the past, independent filmmakers such as ourselves relied on revenue from DVDs. And DVDs is a technology that is transitioning out. It's not a very reliable source of income. And online streaming has become in, and that's a whole different ball of wax. We'll do an episode talking about that as well. But just be aware that the traditional revenue streams that existed have changed. And then really the last thing is just getting financiers. Financiers are always hard, but because of all these new variables that are being included, financing is becoming trickier and trickier, because it's harder to tell your financiers where this industry is going to be going in the next year to 12 to 18 months is when your movie will finally get done. So, lots of things going on in the world. It's not something to stop you. It's just things that if you're going to do a film, you need to know. So, makes pretty much sense, right? Okay, so what does all that mean? Well, when you get right down to it, it's the basic tenet that applies for business in general, but especially for our industry, which is this: money controls everything. And because of that, you don't need to be frustrated by that, but you need to realize that that is a reality of what we deal with. It's just, even if you are the most artistic guy in the world or girl in the world and want to make your picture with the most artistic integrity you can, you still need to be able to pay your crew. You still need to be able to pay your actors just to get the basic things done. So because of that, you need to embrace your financial limitations as part of the game. And that's one of the things that when you going there, you need to look at these financial limitations as a creative stimulus and not something to hold you back. And you need to learn to work within the confines of what you have. So be realistic. What do you have access to? You know, I'd say if you want to shoot an independent film in today's world, the number one thing you have to do is you need to look at what your resources are. Do you have friends that have access to any cool locations that you can shoot for free or for dirt cheap? Do you have any friends that are actors? Do you have anybody that has a special skill set? Do you have any friends that are into parkour? Maybe that can make some cool action sequences. It's about looking around you. Every one of us has something unique, or friendships or relationships that we can rely on. Those are the things that you need to serve as the core for your story to go and base it. And we're going to talk about how to create the story in a future episode. But what I want to do is this episode, I just wanted to basically talk about the idea of the world that we're going to go into in independent film. So, make sense? Okay. So I really think when you're getting down to it, this is the key thing to consider while you're doing this. It is better for you to make something than to have the greatest thing that's ever existed in your mind somewhere that'll never get made. It is better to make something good that you can make practically than something that never exists. And I think that's the big thing that a lot of independent filmmakers fall into, is they get so caught up on big ideas or big concepts that they never are able to realize, when I would say keep those ideas, keep those big concepts, but realize you can always make that movie second or third. What you need is you need something to start off with that's practical that you can actually create right from the start. And that's really what this project is going to be about. It's about creating a simple project with resources I have access to, an extremely tight budget, so I can make my next movie down the road and get good experience doing it, and more importantly, walk away with something tangible and practical in my hands. And, you know, when I'm doing this, I mean, really the main thing to consider is just that, I mean, failure is an option. I mean, failure is always an option, especially when you're doing independent film. I've had so many movies that have collapsed and fallen through the last second. So that's really the thing that we're going to be going on and walking through as we kind of take this experience. So I hope you enjoy it. We're going to do a couple of these. We'll kind of see how it all goes. And at the end of the day, I'll be very interested to see where this goes just as much as you. So yeah, come on guys. I look forward to taking the trip with you. Yeah, and leave me any comments if you have any questions down below. Yeah, let's go ahead and see where this thing goes. Okay.